We're here every Tuesday at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, and 8 p.m. UK time. We want to welcome you to Taco Tuesday. Today, we are going to be talking about bullying. They say that hurt people, but today we're going to be talking about hurt people and heart people. Yeah, you shouldn't laugh. That's not a funny subject. I don't know.
No, I wasn't even. I went back to what we were talking about behind the scenes, and now it just came back unexpectedly.
Now you have to share with our viewers because you can't just leave them hanging like that.
No, that's rude. You can't do inside jokes on a show. It just is not okay. So what did Mary say that made me laugh just now? Mary was singing a song, and she said something.
I said you can't be a bully. Are you a bully or are you a heart person? And you thought I said a fart person. Oh my God.
I thought it did.
She did too. It was because of how you said it.
Well,
you said a bully or a fart.
Heart.
Okay. So anyway, let's move on and not bully each other.
Yeah, seriously, that's so bad.
Yeah. So first, I want to welcome. So we have Anita Myers and Mary Ziola Vega. We're here hosting Taco Tuesday, and we just bringing up different topics every single week. Today we're going to be talking about bullying. This was just something that's so prominent out there, and it's been around probably forever, and just it's getting a lot more press, I would say now. Due to whatever circumstances are going on in the world, you can decide what you think it is. But let's talk about it. So I want Anita to start because she's the one who named this show. So go, Anita. You go, girl.
Oh, my dear Lord. Of course it would be me who starts, especially since I start with fart. That's just the worst. Okay, so when we talk about, I asked actually on my page if anybody was paying attention or had seen it or connected with me. I was just kind of curious about, and if anyone's watching right now, if you're watching right now, definitely comment because I want to know, and I bet you want to ask this question. Mary and Linda will have their answers too, but I'd like to see what everybody else that's viewing is saying here. Do you think that there are more heart people in this world or more, I got the other word in my head, heart people in this world, or I'll just say more bullies in this world, or the hurt people is what it is. So more heart people or more hurt people in this world. Tell us what you think. Which one do you think you've got more of going on in this world? Some people I can imagine are, depending on their circle of friends, depending on their social structure, their culture, they might see a lot of hurt. They might see it and feel it. In other situations, you might feel like you are just surrounded by heart people. Tell us what you think. I'm curious to know what you imagine. Kelly says hurt. You see a lot more hurt.
Yeah.
What do you think, Mary?
First of all, just a reminder, #live below, #replay below. You got it. Yes, right. And then hearts and likes all across because as they say, the more you hearts and likes, the more you share, you care, the more people get to see this. And I think there's an important subject that everyone should see. So do I think there's more hurt or hurt people? I think there's more hurt people.
That's good. How about you, Linda?
Well, first of all, this is a really good subject because I used to be a hurt person and now I'm a heart person. So it's cool to know that you can, if you're living in darkness, I lived in so much darkness and, when I was growing up and stuff. And I was one of those bullies, you guys, believe it or not. I used to be a bully, but it was the people I hung out with. The people I hung out with were bullies. And so I was emulating the environment I was in. And I just want to share really quickly. I remember this one girl, I wish I could remember her name, but she had Down syndrome. And this was back in the late 70s, early 80s. And I didn't even know what that was at that time. I was about 17. And I remember she would walk by every single day. We would see her, and I was a band geek. And so we hung out in the band room, So I would see this girl walking by, and my friends, I had a lot of friends who were guys, and I had my girlfriends too, but they would always pick on her. And I joined in on the fun, and it's sharing, you're asking the question, hurt people or heart people. So at that time I was a hurt person and I didn't know any different because that was my environment. And I was just taking on the environment that I was living in. I didn't know any different. And so this hurt person hurt people at that time. But now you ask this question, And I kind of agree with Kelly that I think that today in this world that we live in, that there are currently a lot more hurt people than heart people. But I think we're in the process of a shift. I just feel like there's a lot more people who are jumping over to the other side.
Yeah, yeah. It's an interesting, I don't know if there's a right answer or a wrong answer. Honestly, it really depends on your environment and depends on what you know, what you think, what you feel. Because there's people that look at the world, the glass half full, and there's people who look at the world, the glass half empty. So there's a lot of different components to deciding what you think on this. So it's going to be an interesting topic to hear when people are giving feedback, what their reasons are. So those, I think Kelly was the one who said hurt. I'd love to know, I think all of us, you lived in fear, so you tried to control by bullying. So that's her story.
Exactly.
So when you think about it, in my opinion, just if I were to go and dig deeper into the whole thing, I think all us as children, when we're born, we're heart people. We're all heart people. I refuse to believe that anyone is born evil. I don't believe that. I just don't. And people might disagree with me, and I don't want to start a fight with anybody out there. But in my opinion, everybody's born as a heart person. And then as we are developing and in our communities and in the way that we're brought up by our parents and the style and what the society is doing, all the different components can have us bury that heart person. I'm doing the whole heart thing here. It can have us bury that heart under a lot of, just soil, dirt, hardship, challenges, definitions that were wrong. And then we suddenly become hurt people. And when you don't see the light of day, I'm sure, tell me the number of people you've met who are angry at God, who are angry at whatever force out there, or who just walk around feeling like they don't know the purpose. Those folks are there. I think what you're saying, Linda, when you talk about how you're seeing more and more and more of it, I feel like, yes, absolutely, there's a shift for better. But we were in a time where it was finally okay to open up and share how you felt about things. Because before, I don't know about you, you may have had the same thing that I've had, where we were suppressed. As for me in my life, I'll speak for me. I was suppressed in my speaking when you'd never think that today, but when I was brought up, I was very quiet. I couldn't speak. If I spoke, I was going to be criticized for whatever it is I said. And it didn't matter what I said, even if it was right, someone would find something wrong with it. So it gets you to a point where you end up saying, I don't want to say anything because it's not worth it. I don't want to feel as bad as I do. But you never talk about it. You never talk about it. And now, in the way that the feel of the way, I guess in the past 10 years or so, everyone's talking about it almost to a point where some are very sensitive to every move that's being made. And I think eventually if we can get ourselves to a place where, number one, we could hear where the hurt's really coming from and help that hurt. And two, bringing more heart people into this world so we don't have to be put in this position, I think we'll have a really, really great balance.
Yeah, I want to bring up a great topic here because Kelly mentioned, she said, to this day, my sisters call me the mean one. Now, I know Kelly. She's an amazing woman, just has a great personality. She's positive, uplifting. She's a therapist for, child therapist, and she's just absolutely incredible. I love talking to her. She's funny, she's witty, and she's brilliant, and she's nice and everything. So the point I'm making here is that our childhood and people who we grow up with saw us as that person, and they still see us as that person. So there might be, if you're going through a shift in your life where you're changing your attitude, becoming a better person, becoming kinder, becoming more of a heart person than a hurt person, the people from your past won't see that because they still see you as that person unless they're willing and open enough to see you as who you are today. And oftentimes it doesn't happen that way. And so Kelly is still experiencing that. Sister's still calling her the mean one. She is not mean at all. She might be mean sometimes. I don't know, but I haven't seen it.
It's interesting. Gosh, we need like a week's worth of talk shows to talk about this subject because you're triggering so many things in my mind of my history. But you're so right about people will define us to whatever they want to define us, and they're not willing, which is such a big, powerful word, because if they were willing, they might discover so many parts of us. I know that I have an uncle who was told, I just said this story earlier this morning to a very close friend of mine. I have an uncle who is my father's brother. And by the way that my father had described me to his brother, who really didn't know me, he had this impression of me that was very negative. And when my father passed and my uncle stepped forward to get to know me and meet me, he got very emotional. And I have to give him credit. This is why we still talk today. When you come from an older generation and you have so many beliefs just ingrained into your soul, basically, to step forward and take a look at this person. When he came to meet me, he had an opinion, absolute opinion of me. But as he kind of peeled the onion and he got to see who I was, he got very emotional one day. He got very emotional and he started to cry. And it was because everything that he was told about me that was absolutely wrong, he was able to see and discover that I wasn't exactly at all what he had imagined me to be. And it changed the way he behaved with me. And gosh, it took me 46 years for that to happen. I'm glad. It's better than nothing. But you're right. If they hold you to that definition, it's up to you then to think about, like, what does Kelly do? My sisters chose the low road and chose to live it. So what does Kelly do when
she's a therapist?
Yeah. So what I mean is, what does she do when her sisters identify her as the mean one? How does she handle that? Does she accept it, or what does she do? I'm so curious. I want to talk to Kelly.
Well, and it's interesting because mine is, I'm going through a kind of thing with my sisters right now. And that's because, I've changed a lot and they still see me as that person. And, thank goodness my husband's willing to see me as who I'm changing into, and you're still with me. Right. But my sisters, like right now, I had to extricate them from my life because they were dragging me down. And anytime somebody's sitting in your head, they don't have to be physically in person with you to drag you down, and you allow it. Like, so I was allowing their thoughts to get in here, seep in, and just pull me down. And so I had to say, no, I'm lifting up I'm letting go of that balloon, let it go. And then, still like let myself fly. So Kelly, the guest link. So Kelly, if you want to join us on camera, there's a link down there. Click on that guest link so you can join us live. So maybe depending on where she is, she might not want to join us. I don't know, but come on camera, Kelly. Show us.
Her. She's like jaw dropped, or she's excited. One of the two. It's like, or maybe both. Mary, how about you?
She is so awesome. And, she's written a book recently about blended families, and she's just so passionate about what she does. And so she's an amazing person. And, like Mary, I want to talk to you about bullying because you're working with empowered athletes, and there's, from, what'd you say, age 13, I think? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so how do you deal with that? Like, do you see it in the type of work that you do?
Not really. It's more ego, not bullying. It's dealing with the ego more than anything. Because I don't allow that. I talk about it. I mean, it's not my part of my life. When you guys talk of bullying, it's foreign language to me. When bullying happens or anything happens, I usually step away or address it and done. I don't, so it's kind of like a foreign language to me. So for me, when that comes up where people start talking about bullying, or they are like, this kid on my team was so bad and, they weren't participating in whatever, I always put it back on them and say, why would you say that? Why would you do this? Again, that's why when we brought this topic up, I was like, I don't even know what to contribute because I am a total heart person. My family's a total heart person. There are bullies or people that are mean to me, but they don't affect me. I don't let that affect me. I will not let it affect me at all.
And that's a great point right there, because it's up to us, right? It's up to us to either affect us or not. And so maybe like learning those coping techniques for those who are being bullied to, like you said, Anita, too, is that it's like some people like take it a little too far. Right. Like, oh, they looked at me wrong. That's a bully, so it's like
getting over a lot. There are people in this world, and I'm not saying that every person that feels bad about something is being sensitive. There's definitely a measuring level of knowing this is the time where you want to draw the line and say, okay, this is not okay. But
I
I'll
think
say
that's up
that
to you, right? I mean, that's
it
really up
could
to
be,
you.
it could be, yeah. I mean, there are kids out there, and they're actually, imagine some of the grown-ups, and you hear this. This is not what I'm saying. This is what I hear. When they talk about, you hear what reasons people sue. They're like, they looked at me the wrong way. I'm going to sue them. They did this. I'm going to sue. Like, you see that they're like, sue happy is what I hear. So
Mhm.
the sensitivity issue is kind of really raging. So they think more on emotion than they do on logic. And so when that happens, especially when I ever worked with children, whether they're young or in teens or college age, even grown-ups, I want to ask them to think about, is it more of an emotional based situation, or is there logic that actually can override that? So you don't have to let it get so affected.
Right.
But yeah, I got a fun bully story to tell you that had a good ending. And I'm going to wish this upon anyone who's out there that was a bully. Okay. When I was in third grade, from third grade to fifth grade, I was bullied all the way home. I'd walk from school, which is not even a long walk, but it felt like the longest walk on the planet because I had a group of girls that were a couple, like imagine if I was in third grade, they were in fifth grade, and they'd follow me home. And the things that they would call me were pretty awful. I won't say it here, but imagine because of my skin color, they told me to go back to where I came from, which is really funny because now when you look back at who they were, they all came from different parts of the world. They weren't even from America. But they nonetheless wanted me to go back to where I came from, and they'd shove me and they'd push me and they'd make fun of me. And it was a really bad time for 2 years going home. I hated walking home. I hated it. And I hated being Indian. That's my ethnicity. I hated it. I just wanted to be a white Barbie doll. I just wanted to be blonde hair, beautiful, blue eyes. And I didn't have that. That wasn't what was given to me. This is what was given to me. And I loathed who I was, because if I had just be Caucasian and blonde, I probably would have been accepted. But because I was not, it was a rough 2 years of going home. I hated it. Well, time goes by, and there's this thing called Facebook, and I didn't even want to get in it. I didn't want to get involved with Facebook at all. And I made a decision one day because too many people kept asking me about it, and I finally get on, just like a lot of us did. And there was a mutual friend who heard the story, because if you were ever bullied by anybody and you see their name pop up among your friend list of friends, you can suddenly get triggered of that moment. Like I reverted back to being a third grader, not wanting to go home, throwing up, feeling nervous, and all this stuff happened. I saw this person's name in a mutual friend, talked to the mutual friend and said, listen, I don't mind that we're friends, but you're friends with someone that was a bully to me from third grade to fifth grade. And I feel so uneasy, and she felt so bad. And I had no idea how close of a friend she was to this bully, that when she had gotten this message, the girl was at her house. So she turns around, she tells the girl, I can't believe you did that to Anita. She's like the nicest person. Why would, whatever it is that she said. Well, 2 weeks later, I guess the two girls of the 4-pack that were there sent me a message. Each one of them, the two of them individually, sent me a message, because now they're moms and they've got children, and that was history. They probably forgot the details of who they bullied and why, but they sent an email to me. They sent me a message, and it was a long War and Peace type of a message to apologize to me for what they did when they were in third grade, and they couldn't believe how awful they were. And to get that, I think it's a rare thing to see that happen. But I'm saying this story on purpose because what it did to me was, first of all, it made me go back to being in third grade, and I did get emotional reading it, because that was a really rough thing to go through and get out of. And to hear the person who did this to me, the two people who did this to me, apologize and really show true regret, healed me immediately. And I'm saying this here out loud, live, because if anyone who's ever watching, male, female, doesn't matter, if you are a bully and you happen to see them on social media of any kind, and you remember even vaguely that you were this way, use the time to apologize. Use the time to go from being a hurt person, whatever caused you to be bullyish, to become a heart person by sending that letter sending that message and just kind of having a talk with them, because you will never know that even decades later, you could truly heal someone's heart from that. It was really a good moment for me. I can't hear her.
Oh, you can't?
Oh, there you are.
Okay, you can hear me. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyhow, someone sends you a letter because you were hurt, but I'm gonna give you a real quick example. When I was young, I had to wear an eye patch over my eye. Okay, so I had to wear this eye patch over the eye. But one thing my parents taught me was, who cares? You are different because something happened at birth or something happened, whatever. Who cares? But you. And I think that's the difference with you and I, is that maybe I was bullied, maybe I was made fun of, maybe whatever. I have a twin. I was a big one, she was a little one. People made fun of it, but I think it comes in your circumstances, like Linda was saying. If you are born in a certain circumstance where your parents are already taking on a different role, you take on that different role. I personally, if someone wrote me a letter now, I would be like, what are you talking about? See, so I think we each take it differently, how we could define bullying, which is really interesting. And I would love to be on the psycho end of it to find out what some of these kids are saying and where they're coming from, where their roots are coming from. The ones that are having a really hard time with bullying, I mean, bullying's terrible, I know. But I'm just saying the ones that are having the traumatic things, the drastic things that happen, what are they getting from the parents? What are they getting from that home life to encourage them to feel so inside? Now, Nita, yours was not like some of these kids that do something terrible. I know you were hurt by it, etc. But maybe that's really what we think about is the heart being attended to from birth on, to make sure that the heart can handle the hurt and not take that hurt so much to hurt.
Well, imagine to what you're saying, you have children that could be in households where bullying does take place between husband and wife, between the mom and the parents of that mom, between adults. And even now in this climate where I really want to be sensitive, overly sensitive to the topic, but you have a political air too, where now you see friends and neighbors and outsiders. It doesn't matter if you're human and you believe in one way and someone else believes in another way, and the values are different. Even on Facebook, you can see it with strangers. The way people speak with one another are major influencing factors of how we're supposed to learn as children to speak with one another. So when we see in school, they say 0 tolerance on bullying. Okay, how about all the parents that are out there that are bullying one another, whether it's a sports related thing and you see, father getting mad at another father over or the coach, or you see a political situation. You see so many different situations that are now out there that show children that bullying is actually okay. I don't think that's what's trying to be said, but that's what in my opinion, I'm seeing that so many messages are saying bullying is okay. You see it on TV, you see it in movies, you see just regular everyday conversations take place. I think we've got Kelly on here. Is she on here?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. We can see the top of your head.
See the top of my head?
What's the top of your head? We're having head talks.
There you go. But yeah, I think that's a really good point, Anita, before Kelly comes on, is that what you have grown up to understand what bullying is defines a lot in your brain and in your heart.
It does.
And I think that's a really big point to look at. Yep. There's Kelly. We can see her head.
I can't hear Linda. Linda's talking, but you're muted.
I'm pretending.
All right, Kelly, we can see your head. Can you bring your camera down a little bit? Or stand up? Oh, you must be on. Hey, I bet you're on a selfie stick, right?
No. Yeah.
I'm just holding it.
Kelly's looking.
You can only see my head.
Right.
That's interesting.
We can see Kelly perfectly on the output screen on Facebook.
Oh.
There's no problem. The problem lies with what you're seeing on the guest screen. So,
okay.
Kelly, you're looking good. I'm going to bring Linda back.
Okay.
Bye for now.
Thank you.
All right, bye. Thanks, Steven. That's Steven, our producer. Isn't he wonderful? So I'm glad that he brought that up. That's great. Well, welcome,
Thank you.
Miss Kelly. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yep.
I am in my
Now you can hear me.
keto mode here and not
I'm sorry.
really ready to be on camera, but I thought I'd get on because this is a subject near and dear to my heart, quite honestly.
Yeah. So Kelly, why don't you share with them, what you do and how you got into it?
Okay, well, I am a marriage and family therapist and registered play therapist. And I, lived a life trying to fill the hole in my soul with rock and roll. And some of it was fun and some of it was pretty painful because just having your own self-respect and self-esteem and knowing what boundaries to have with who wasn't really part of what I had internalized. And I like to call it that sometimes people don't have a sticky bun inside that love can stick to because they've lived in an environment that was pretty scary, actually. And my mother was bipolar, and she's God rest her soul, she passed last year, but I mean, she was a beautiful woman, but she was really happy, really sad, really mad, in and out of mental institutions. My father was working for the FBI, was never home. And so I got really scared. And I was the oldest, and I puffed up and became big and tried to control my world. And part of that was controlling my sisters because there wasn't anybody big in the household. So fast forward through the rock and roll, and I became a corporate executive, got an MBA, took the high road, went to all kinds of counseling, got my own healing. And one day I woke up and I'm like, making money for a corporation and managing people is not that big of a challenge anymore. I know I can do that, but I want to do something that really matters. So I wanted to share the healing I'd received with others. And I never saw myself working with kids, but when I found out that their language was play, since my little girl had never been given permission, I just resonated with it. And my little girl got her healing, and I connect with kids in an amazing way. It's a beautiful experience, and it's a ripple effect onto their families as well.
Yeah, I wanted to quickly talk about, thanks for sharing that, Kelly. She, like I said, she's amazing. She's funny. See, you saw the wit in there. But so, she had to step into that role, right, of being the older sister, taking care of everybody. And my sister had to do the same thing. And I think a lot of that, because my sister stepped into that role, like I'm still her little baby sister. I'm 55 years old, but I'm still that little baby sister who she doesn't need to help me anymore. And so it might be a little threatening. I mean, what's your thought on that, Kelly? Being the oldest sister and having gone through that with your sisters.
Oh, yeah. It is threatening for the younger sisters because I was the first and I was the eldest, and I learned things and was able to do things that they weren't. And I understood things that they didn't understand. And I wish I would have been given a mentor role rather than a control role, that I could have blessed my sisters and shared with them and mentored them and taught them rather than pushing them around and trying to control them. So, to this day, unfortunately, my sisters are addicts, and there's a lot of addiction in my family. And so we really live in two separate worlds, and, we talk occasionally, but we're not as close as I would like. And my two younger sisters were very close to each other. And so they've connected more, and I don't hear from them very often because they're hiding in shame.
I have a question regarding, because we're talking about heart people versus hurt people versus heart people. And so just like asking all of you guys, like, what's your thought? Like, say there's somebody out there who they recognize that, you know what, I'm tired of hurting people's feelings. Like, this was me. I was tired of, hurting people's feelings, and I had to learn how to just control my mouth and not just spew it all over the place. So do you guys have any thoughts on that? Like, how can people, if they're realizing that they're doing that and they want to stop doing that, do you have any ideas, recommendations on what they can do?
Well, I think that's really important that you bring that up because it's the first step. You really have to know that yourself. And that's a big step. If you are hurting people and you can acknowledge it, it's just like any addict, like, Kelly was talking about, then you acknowledge it. So you're saying, I'm going to go ahead and change that. So I think that is the most important first step. So I think anyone that is a bully, that would be the very first step you have to take, is acknowledge that they are.
Yeah, to dovetail through what Mary just said, if you were to do a lookup on something like Pinterest or Google and look for quotes involving narcissism, people who are narcissistic, you're going to hear, how it's all about belittling and bullying and really taking somebody's character and finding fault with it in some way. There's a sense of control, major control that takes place. And when you are in it, whatever your reason for doing it is, a lot of times it's to fill a void. It's to fill something that hurt them. That's how they fill their cracks that were made by someone else or something else or some situation. And when you get used to a habit like that, I do know a few people over my lifetime who knew that they weren't nice. Some people are actually, they say that they speak almost that they're proud to be this way, like this is a good thing. They have to justify. So when Mary says what she says about the first step, that you can identify that you are someone that does that, it is really huge. And when they can identify it, that next step, it's crucial to take, but it's also a scary step for those. And I don't know if you feel this way, Linda, if you went through this or not, but for some that are very strong in the way that they believe, this is their way of life. It's their way. And to them, they've worked very hard in justifying that is the way. That's how they've gotten through so many different things in their lives in the way that they saw it. And they're not concerned if the feelings are hurt. So when they make this identification, there could be a moment for a breakdown. There could be a moment for recognizing the root cause, and they might not want to look at that. So it takes work, and it takes, if I could say, to answer your question of, what do you do first? At least personally, if you make an identification of it and you're not ready to go and see somebody, you're not ready to go and seek a therapist or a coach or any of that type of thing, you really want to, one of the techniques is obviously writing. To be able to, whether it's typing or handwriting or voicing it out on something, but getting it out from here into some kind of, I'm going to say vessel, but some way you want to get this out so that you can look at it and work on it. And I know that one of the things that I do, and I can recommend this to anybody that's in this situation, it works for any kind of challenges really, but you just get yourself a journal. It's out there. There's tons of them out there. And if you don't want to get a journal because you don't like the word journal, just get a spiral. I don't care what you get, but write down everything you're feeling, because sometimes you start that process of sharing whatever you want to share and suddenly it's like a whole dump fest. Everything's coming out, everything like a big old vomit. And when you can do that, you might cry hard, you might need a minute, but when you do, that whole physical expression of your spiritual feelings comes out, and you need to be able to address it. And once that happens, more clarity will take place. But it is always important to have someone that you can trust that's by you when you are going through something like that, so you keep yourself from kind of not going overboard, but feeling as strong as you might feel. Because those bullies that have been bullies, I don't know how many years you've been a bully, Linda, how many years you may have been a bully.
A lot.
But if this is a lifetime's worth of time, to make that decision to change is going to take time because you're changing a habit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's because it's like jerk reactions. No pun intended. It is like a jerk reaction. But I want to ask Kelly, because since she works with families and stuff, Kelly, about what ages do you recognize that somebody is actually being a bully? Starting about how young?
Oh gosh. And I've done a lot of work with schools as well, and been a therapist in schools, and actually did a presentation on bullying down at Estes in Tijuana. It's a university down there, and looking at bullying, and even from a cultural perspective. But bullying can happen as young as age 4 is what I've seen. However, it's also the narcissistic thing and the bullying piece. it's not only to hurt people, but it's to keep them away. It's not always completely
Right.
about control, but to protect your heart from
Mhm.
getting
Mm-hmm.
wounded, because you haven't
Yeah.
found that those people that you should be able to trust, which are your caregivers, were safe. And if they weren't safe from your very young age, then who is safe? The world isn't safe at all. So I'm just going
Yep.
to put up this big wall of means so that you don't come anywhere close.
That's absolutely right. Oh my goodness. I
Yep.
can resonate with that. I mean, when we're trying to protect ourselves, think about when we feel threatened, just in general, regular human beings, when we feel threatened, moms, wives, women, especially men too. But we get louder, we get stronger, and we want to protect our heart because we don't want anyone to hurt it. And they go through the folks that you were talking about, Kelly, that are in this strong sense of protection and narcissistic behaviors. I mean, they probably most likely, and I don't, maybe you'll know this better than me, but I'm suspecting that their hearts were really beautiful and tender and wonderful. And they just had some pretty terrible things that occurred that had them create just as strong of a barbed wired fence, if not anything like Fort Knox, to protect it. And they'll do whatever they need to do to protect their heart from ever
You
getting
know,
hurt again.
I want to touch on that
Yep.
because that really brought something to mind. Is when I was going through this shift. So, again, I grew up in
Mhm.
a very volatile, abusive, alcoholic household. So, just like Kelly said, I had my guard up, and how could I feel protected if I wasn't being protected from my family? So what ended up happening is that hardened interior happened, and like my heart became hardened. And so I was mean to other people because that was all I knew, whatever the
Right.
excuse is, but that was all I knew. And so what happened is when I discovered a life coach 4 years ago, I'm sorry, it's 5 years ago now, it's April, 5 years ago. And I started working with this life coach, and something she said to me, and you just hit it for me, Anita. Thank you so much. Something she said to me one day, and she goes, "You know what I love about you, Linda, is that you see everything as if you are a child discovering it for the first time." And it gives me chills just remembering that, because it is, because my little girl, as Kelly was mentioning, was hurt and was in such pain for 51 years of my life. And when I finally started working with somebody who could touch my heart and teach me who my heart was and who I really am, then it was like, whoa, there's a whole world out there. I didn't even know it existed. And now I see everything like from the eyes of a child, because I'm going through exactly that right now. It's so amazing. I'm like a 4-year-old girl.
Yeah, you know what though? I I said something. I shared this with someone else too about quite a bit of people I've shared this with, that I say I'm 46, whatever our age is, but we've got all of our ages within us. We've got all of our ages within us. So when you have a situation that happens when you're 3 in your memories, when you have something that happens when you're 15, when you're 20, when you're 24, when you're 46, whatever, think about the number of things that have taken place in your life that damaged you in some way, that
Mhm.
defined something to be so bad for you. And everybody remembers, everybody can remember good things, but most people will never forget the bad things. And so when you talked about reliving a better life as a 4-year-old, like or 7-year-old, whatever that age is, imagine if we could address all the different areas that hurt us. If it happened once and that's the thing you have to look at, then that's what you look at. But if you've had several situations that have happened over the course of your life, to touch on all of those and repair it. And you do want to have someone to help you repair that, because
Mhm.
we were talking about how you can recognize, which is really important. You can write. But the other thing I think is that, I don't know if anyone does this, but they should, is celebrate that you just got there, that you just recognized it. You have to be able to know that what you did is a good thing versus a fearful thing, because crossing over to the better side, to the heart people side, is scary when you're so comfortable being what you mentioned. This is what you knew. This was your comfort zone. If you were growing up in a gang membership, if you were part of that world, which, nobody, I don't know what that would feel like. But if I grew up in a bad side of things, if I grew up with the type of community that was really poor or really, in the way that their personalities were damaging, this is what this is the definition. So think about the number of people who have the poor definition of love in the very beginning. They just speak the way they speak, even just regular conversations, regular parenting. They just speak the way they speak, or they spank when there's a problem. This is just how it's handled. This is just how it's done. This is just the way. And so someone like you who says, I'm willing to learn, I'm willing to change, I'm willing to see that there's an alternative way of handling XYZ, and trying it out and seeing the results. And you've got to try it out with hurt people, that's for sure. You don't want to try it out with people that are hurt, because that could be a problem. That won't be an easy resolution for you.
So before we go any further, I just want to say, you're watching Taco Tuesday. We're here every Tuesday, 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. UK time. If you type the word talk in the comments below, the word talk, you'll be sent, my messenger bot will send you a message, and you type talk again. So if you want to reach out to any of the guests that we have on the show, or if you want to reach out to any of us who are on the show, including Steven, who is in the background, Steven Healey, and I'll get Kelly's information from her, and I'll include that as part of our guests. So if you want to connect with any of us, type the word talk in the comments, and then again, type the word talk at the messenger bot. So we have a lot of great comments coming in here. This is really awesome.
I saw some coming in too.
One thing that really, really stuck in me and was Steven. It was from, oh shoot, where was it? It was like, whoa, I've never heard this before. Never mind, I can't find it. It was something about bleeding. Oh, yeah. Sally B, you have to heal your wound so you don't bleed all over others.
Sally B. I love Sally. That's my girl.
Well, you know Sally, awesome.
I do. But it's a wonderful phrase it's a wonderful quote that she shares, because think about it, when we don't heal and we aren't given the resources to heal, we do tend to bleed all over other people, and we don't even realize it. We don't even know it.
Yeah.
But
and then Patty
Karen
says,
had some good tips.
Oh, go ahead, Kelly.
Karen had a couple of good tips. Karen?
Let's see if I can
Karen
find
Dewan, that's my girl too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she has a lot.
Yeah.
We got the women represented.
Karen was from LA, if I'm right. She's from California, and she's in Chicago. So she's got the taste of both sides, the West Coast and the Midwest.
But this was good though. Yeah, I don't think younger kids, 4 to 5 years old, bully on purpose. They don't always know how to verbally articulate their emotion. And looking back to when I was that age, I was kind of stifled at that age, just like you were saying, Anita. Like, kids are better seen than heard. Shut up over there, you're too noisy and all that stuff. And so I stifled. But when I was not in the household, that stifleness came out, and it came out like a forked tongue. Because what I learned was how I could hurt people before they would hurt me.
Yeah.
Because it was just there was a lot of pain, and so I was like, ooh, I got them. Ooh, I got them. Like, I used to say that to myself all the time. Ooh, I got them. I was so proud. Just like you said, I was so proud of how I was able to get people before they get me.
And it's the way and what's beautiful about us talking about this right now is that the realization under all of this, we said hurt people versus heart people, that all hurt people are heart people who were hurt. And if we could just, those of us who are heart people can spend time recognizing that those people who are hurting, because once upon a time something took place and it changed the way that they thought, and all they're doing is protecting something within themselves. They may or may not ever want to make those changes to go back to being the heart person. Some never. Some will stay the way they prefer to stay. So if you are someone who is in a relationship with anyone who is hurting you, and you're trying so hard to change their ways and they're just not willing to change, what is it that you can tell yourself? I mean, I know I can give an answer, but I would like people to kind of think it through. And even with Mary's way of how you were brought up and how you think, you have a very strong based foundation of not letting those things bother you. But imagine if someone is living with this pain and they can't shake it. those who are getting affected by this, how do they work with it?
Yeah, I'd like to hear from Kelly on that.
Yeah.
I keep reading Karen's comments, and is she a life coach or a therapist or something? Because
I'm not sure. Yeah,
she's got the
Karen, what do
verbiage.
you do?
She says emotionally armoring ourselves. That's an emotionally loaded gun right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we emotionally armor ourselves in a number of ways. And I had put this up a little bit, and this is a heart made out of little pieces of metal, and it's called Danger Heart. And I
Danger.
have this up in my wall. A friend made it actually, and that's armoring our heart with something very spiky so no one gets close.
Oh, that's nice. I can see that. That looks great.
And people will see
great.
that, since I am a play therapist, I have a lot of symbolism in my office because that speaks to the little child in us, because we can't verbally articulate, as Karen mentioned, a 4 or 5-year-old. It may be something that they've seen modeled for them, behaviors, like my father hitting my mother. Oh, I guess that's what you do to people you love.
Right. Well,
No.
that's true. The household, I mean, I grew up in a household where, I'm going to say it, I mean, it was hit first and ask questions later. It's just the way it was. And, this was the time, and I think I just talked about this too, in a live stream, that you have the household where they spank, and spanking is the way of the parenting world. But you also had the community that spanked you. And the reason why I'm saying it this way is I remember growing up where I knew my friends who were playing piano. Their instructor hit them on their fingers when they didn't do it right. I had friends that went to Catholic school. They got whapped on the fingers because they got in trouble for saying something wrong. I mean, you think about Blues Brothers. That was the time. You can't speak poorly or you're going to get whacked by the nun. And it's like, this is the way of the world. And I remember It's a Wonderful Life. Remember that movie? It's one of my favorite Christmas movies. I love It's a Wonderful Life with George Bailey and Clarence. And here's George Bailey, young George Bailey, who works for his boss, who is in the pharmacy. And there's a mistake that takes place, without getting into detail, a mistake that takes place. And the pharmacist, the owner of the shop, gets so mad at little George Bailey. I mean, you see it in the show. He hits him in the ear so hard that he's bleeding out of his ear. And it was all a mistake, and everything is all good, and we all have the ending wonderful. But the point is my child, when she started watching It's a Wonderful Life, because that's the thing that we do for Christmas time, it really shocked her, where she was like, what's happening here? Because she doesn't understand the type of punishment that children received back then. She couldn't imagine that, because that's not how it is today. I'm looking at what Karen's saying as I'm talking, and I'm kind of slowing myself down here.
Yeah, because she said, I remember getting shanked, but she meant spanked. And I was like, oh my gosh.
I thought I saw shanked too. I'm like, we're in jail. What just happened? What?
Oh my gosh.
Karen, you just really got me on that one. I just kind of slowed down. I'm like, I thought I saw shanked.
I imagine like all the neighborhood's moms just like having knives and just shanking her. Oh my gosh. Well, spanked is bad enough, but shanked, that's oh my gosh. So we have about 10 more minutes left here. I wanted to really tap into Kelly, because this is what she does. Like, she helps people through this. So Kelly, why don't you share with us, like, if there's somebody out there, let's say there's a child out there whose parents they're not watching us right now, but let's say it's a parent of a child out there, and they're like, my child is such an ass, I can't help but beat them, and like that. Like, how can they come to grips to like realizing that that's not really the best way to handle your child? Or am I wrong on that? Is that the best way?
Well, there's a lot of viewpoints that weigh in differently on that. And since, there's a movie out right now called An American Crime, and it occurred in the 60s, and it has to do with child abuse. And that's really before laws were in effect to protect our children. I do try to align with parents because they're the gatekeepers. So I steer away from any kind of shame or, I mean, they come to me, they're obviously looking for help and for answers and support and love. And I understand that they have exhausted their resources when trying to deal with this child with these behavioral issues. And so I empathize with them. I have the parent come in first because I want to hear their heart. I want to hear their struggles and even touch in a little bit on their wounds in their childhood, because they may be just emulating what they learned when they were young and they don't know any better.
Yep.
And so the first session is with you, the parent that's watching. And if you do have a child who's unruly or bullying or even completely shut down, which is the other spectrum, I'd like to encourage you to please seek help. Because when I started working with adults, and I never saw myself working with kids. They just bugged. That was before my little girl got to come out to play. And so when I started to work with children, I was like, oh my gosh. I thought with adults, if I could get them a little younger, it would save so much damage control on the back end.
Yeah.
I thought, oh my gosh, I got to work with kids because then we won't have this problem and the world will be a better place by the time they get adults. And so that was my heart for kids. And kids are, they are born, and I believe they're born with a pure heart. I mean, you look at an infant, they're not like, or anything like that. I mean, come on, they're little tiny, innocent beings that are brought into this world to be loved and cared for by us. And so I just encourage that parent to get help. I mean, there's so much information nowadays. There's so many books when you Google, misbehaving child. I mean, the Spirited Child book is one of the best books I have ever read. I haven't written it. Maybe that kind of dovetails into
Maybe
the next
you
book.
need to.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think
The
that's
next
not a
book
mistake.
I'm writing is how to incorporate play back in your family, how to have fun in your family. And it's utilizing techniques. And I didn't plan for this to be a commercial, but I think that we're just so pressured and so serious that these techniques will help you learn how to nurture, how to engage, how to provide structure and teach your child, even teenagers, using play. It's called TheraPlay. The modality is, and it's so super cool. So I encourage parents, there's answers, there's support, there's understanding, there's no shame. Let's do this together.
Right. And I think on the flip side of things, that when though I'm not a therapist, I do have my certification and license for coaching, for life and relationship coaching. But the time that I spend with parents, whenever they have stepped forward about their situations with their children, there is that side that Kelly talks about, which I mimic the same thing. But the other side is having that parent just kind of look at what's happening in their own lives. What is causing them to feel the way they're feeling? Because sometimes they are so overwhelmed with all the other aspects of life. Like maybe they really are unhappy in their situation. Maybe it's a work situation. Maybe it's a relationship situation. Maybe it's their health. And, just think about how we get when we don't get enough sleep and we get kind of crabby and we don't have our coffee or whatever that thing is. And our day just doesn't go so well. So you have parents who are trying to still be good role models, and they see themselves maybe falling apart emotionally with a lot of the things that are happening, the chaos, the disorganization, the different things that are taking place. So they need to be loved too. Parents, a lot of parents I've seen, I found myself hearing their need for recognition for what they do. Moms who are momming as hard as they can, and they are repeating things that are happening from when they were a child, from how their parents were, and they don't want to do that anymore, or they are not recognizing how they've scheduled their life where it doesn't actually include time to do the things that you were talking about, Kelly, to being able to play. And if they adjusted their schedule in such a way where they actually created the 5 minutes, the 10 minutes, or even the hour, or created the time where they could go on a date with their child. In other words, just take them out and enjoy time with them, and just kind of keep the phones and the screen time away, and just kind of go back to the basics of organic love, where you just kind of hang with each other, where two hearts could actually have a conversation and enjoy each other's time. That's when you have a lot of growth that takes place, because now you're pausing the rest of your life for just a moment, even if it's 5 minutes. I know one thing is, I once upon a time I worked in a child care center where my daughter was in one room and I was working in another room with other children, and there was recess time. And in recess time, it was a really big eye opener for me, because I wasn't ever someone that was around a lot of children. I became that person now because of being a mother. And when I got involved with this child care center, during recess time, I would sit in the chair. I remember it started off just as a fun thing, but it became a habit, where it was time to hug Miss Anita. And what I found was, one child came and said, "Can I give you a hug, Miss Anita?" And I just was like so amazed. I loved it so much. I said, "Absolutely." And I would give that little child a hug. Well, then other children saw that too. And these are like 3-year-olds, 3, 4, or 5-year-olds. They all just wanted to stand in line just for the hug. And it made me think, this is nothing against the parenting that's out there. We don't know what's going on. We don't know if they're doing great. What we did know was that while they were away from their parents, man, they sure wanted that hug. They just wanted a moment of silence for like a minute or two to just sit there in that hug. And sometimes it might just take the hug. It might just take that silent time together with someone that you care about to make a difference.
Yeah, and I just want to share, you're watching Taco Tuesday. We're here every Tuesday, 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. UK time. If you're interested in connecting with one of the hosts here on the show, or connecting with any of our guests that we've had in the past or that we'll have in the future, go ahead and type the word talk in the comments below. My messenger bot will send you a message. It'll be from Living Live. I'm not sure if it's media. I think it says media. And then you just type the word talk again, and then you'll have a link that can take you to our profiles and stuff, so you can connect with us. So Kelly, we'll put a link to your book, in your profile there when we get off this call here. But is this a really great topic? And we have 4 minutes left, so we're going to ask Kelly. I want to thank you so much for being here on the show, and Steven, I'll ask you to go ahead and your room. Thank you again, Kelly, and I'll connect with you to get your information. So next week, bye. So next week we have a show. It's at on February 12th. 12 p.m. Pacific, and it's called Love Me or Leave Me. Is love unconditional versus conditional? We have our guest that we'll have special guests on will be Sylvia Chavez and Cheryl Snyder Piper. So make sure you guys tune in next week for that. And we want to thank our sponsors of the show. We have Living Live Media, as well as the Live Video Hub. Steven, you want to come up real quick and tell us about the Live Video Hub? I caught him off guard, by the way. He didn't know I was going to do that. So. And I want to thank our viewers for, all the comments. This is really, really fantastic. If you enjoyed this topic, please share this out. We want to share this with, maybe there's somebody out there that will hear the topic, and then they'll be able to go from their hurt space to their heart space. Like, yes, Steven, here's our producer of the show. You want to share with us what the Live Video Hub is?
I just want to say I've been engrossed by the conversation today, and I think it's a very important topic. And it was handled well. It was good to we were joined. I don't want to give out any adverts. The show is the advertisement. The show is what matters. And congratulations to everybody who took part today. To everybody who's watched, just thank you. And from Wiltshire in England, it's goodbye from now as I hand back to Linda. Bye.
So thank you guys so much for tuning in. And Anita and Mary, I'm going to ask you guys to say some, last words. Keep it to like 30 seconds or so. Anita, you want to what's some last words about bullying?
I will say, number one, I got to say that the women that came on here, anyone that came on here and spoke, especially the ladies that I know, thank you so much for your wise words and reminders, because those are incredible. And that's just proof right there that this world is truly loaded with heart people. And I love that I have that in my tribe. Thank you so much for joining us and being a part of it. I hope you come back again and again and again and again and contribute as much as you can. It was wonderful. When it comes down to something that I would say in terms of bullying, if we could just remember where the bully is coming from, those of you who are heart people, remember that you are talking to someone who might look like they're a bully, but they're obviously hurt, and maybe we can learn to understand a little bit better and commit to finding better ways to handle that types of things. You learned some things today that was pretty great. In the end, one of the things that's important to me is I have a hashtag that I say is hearts do matter. in my opinion, I think in a lot of people's opinion, when we think about the heart, it's all that matters. So I hope you all enjoyed the time on the show, and I look forward to talking again the next time.
Mary.
I know we have 10 seconds. Real quick, great show. It was a great show. I am a hard person, and I believe people all can be hard people. And thanks again for the show. Great show. Sorry, ran out of time.
Hey, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Really do appreciate it. And like Anita said, please join us every Tuesday here, 12 p.m. Pacific. I see Karen. She said, I will come back. She turned on the notifications while listening. Awesome. Please share the show out. We want to do our best to get this word out to anybody that it might be able to help. I went from a hurt person to a heart person. So that it shows that it can happen. There might be somebody who's hurting you along the way, but there's something inside them that's hurting them too. So maybe there's some question you can ask them that can reach into their heart and just unharden it just a little bit so that they can make that journey. So you guys have a great day. We'll see you next Tuesday as we talk about love with Cheryl Piper and Sylvia Chavez.